Okay, so let's get into it. The 5 stages of reinvention, the 5 stages of the reinvention map. I was having this conversation over on Threads, and a lady said, "Oh my God, it all is just so hard. I wish there was a map." And it was like, ding, ding, ding. I do have like the different stages and phases of burnout recovery for us late diagnosed autistic girlies. This may be relevant and it may apply to you even if you're not neurodivergent, even if you're not a late diagnosed autistic girly. So please do not think that I'm excluding you. I am just making sure that those of us that this resonates with that are late diagnosed understand that this is for you. This does include you. So there are 5 stages of the reinvention, and the map that I put together from a collection of tools within Neurofem Juice has 5 stages. So the first stage is the collapse. That's the one we all know all too well. We know the collapse, we know what that feels like. Even if we can't identify what it is and what's happening when it's happening, we know what the collapse feels like. And when I posted about when did you first realize that you were masking, or a statistic about how a certain percentage of late diagnosed admit to having a nervous system crash out. I think it was like 60% or 70% after 40, because once estrogen drops, masking becomes more difficult. That's why most of us realize it after 40. But anyway, so that's when your nervous system finally says, I'm done pretending. No more of that. Fuck hustle culture and the cult of coaching. I'm unlearning everything that I've learned. And our system is saying, listen to me finally for a change. That's the collapse. That's stage one. And then there's stage two, clarity. That's where the fog begins to lift and you could finally start to see which parts no longer fit, which parts no longer fit into who you are now, the you that you are becoming. You realize that there are certain things that you've done or were doing in the past, and you're like, I don't want to do that no more. I ain't hurt anymore. And so you feel disjointed, you feel out of alignment with the you that you are becoming and the you that you show up as. That's stage two, clarity. Then there's stage three, the calibration. The calibration is where you start to get more in alignment with your authentic self. Now, for many of us, our authentic selves, we don't know who she is. We don't know what she looks like. For many of us, we barely seen her. We don't really know who she is because we've been masking our whole lives. We've been masking since we were like 4 or 5 years old. So we really don't know our authentic selves. We have all of these voices in our mind of be this and be that. And if you come from a strict Christian Pentecostal background like me, you definitely had a lot of do's and don'ts in your life, and they raised you. Those do's and don'ts raised you, and they permeated every area of your life. So go from that to now masking, and now you're in the military, and then you have all of these do's and don'ts, and then you get married at a very young age, and you have all of these shoulds and shouldn'ts. And so, yeah, I was masking my entire life. So stage three is the recalibration. You start to build a life based on you identifying who your authentic self is, and one that's more in alignment with who you are, your natural rhythm. Stage four is the creation phase. That's what I like to call the reinvention phase, where you start to reinvent yourself. I used to say, go back to my old self. When I was, in my early stages of burnout recovery, I would say, oh, I just can't wait to get back to myself or get back to myself. But what I realized is I never knew what that old self was, because I come from so much trauma that who is she? I don't know her either. So what are you supposed to do when you don't know that version of yourself? You reinvent. You create the one that's in alignment with who you are now and who you want to be moving forward as a mother, as a friend, and as a businesswoman, and as a daughter, and as even as an ex-wife, because when I first started my, recovery, I was still married when I first started my burnout recovery. So as a wife, and I learned so many things about myself as a wife, even, and now that I'm an ex, I still took those things and said, hey, I learned this about myself. So that's stage four. Stage 5 is, I want to say mastery, but it's really not mastery, because what I'm learning is the more you have masked, the longer you've masked, re-entry, reintegration becomes a lifelong concept. It is a concept that you will continue throughout your life, of constantly being intentional about your commitments, intentional about setting boundaries and keeping them firm, intentional about checking in with yourself, not gaslighting your brain, not gaslighting your nervous system. And then one day you might get to the place where it starts to feel like, okay, this is coming from me, but I'm not there yet. I still have to check in with myself. And I am about 4 years into burnout recovery, where I still have to check in with myself. I still have to ask myself, okay, who is this? Who is this version of me speaking? Is this the burnout me that has been conditioned to perform and mask and all of that? Or is this the more aligned me? And so you may be in that place for a period of time before you start to really just truly know that this is coming from a place of creation, the one you create for yourself. And so it's more of an expansion, more of a restoration, if you will, where you are holding on to the things that you value and are in alignment, and you're releasing those. And every time you're introduced with a new scenario, you might feel yourself being triggered. And so it's a process of, okay, in this environment, I wasn't introduced to this because I was in isolation during my healing. So I wasn't introduced to this. And so now I'm out here and I'm exposed to it. Now I have to figure out, like, do I hold on to it or do I let it go? And so that's a continuous process. And so I like to call that restoration and an expansion. So I'm turning this into a map. If you want that map, drop the reinvention below, the reinvention map or the reinvention or some form of those words below, and I'll make sure you get it. Again, over at neurofemjuice.com, we have a collection of tools and no decision day menus, the Masking or Me audit. We have the Neurofem energy recovery type quiz over there to determine if you are where are you right now in your burnout recovery? Are you the overwhelmed optimist? Are you the disconnected dreamer? Are you the ready reinventor? Or are you the exhausted achiever? Like, there's 4 different Neurofem energy recovery types. Where are you right now? Because that tells you how to move forward if we get a handle on where you are now. That's how you rebuild, rebrand without burnout, execute without overwhelm, and you don't have to burn it all down. If you're a business owner, that's a scary thing. You don't have to burn it all down to reinvent. You can do so. You can do them at the same time. So yeah, that'll support you with that. Drop it below and let's continue the conversation in the comments.